Hey, founders, Kirk Michie, I'm back. We're still working down that funnel. You're still curious about whether you should sell your business, whether it's the right time, will you get enough money? You're not quite ready to move yet into, kind of the strategy for moving forward, the steps you're going to take on the way to move forward. And you're certainly not yet to the yes, let's go, right? So one of the final questions you asked, though, before you move into the what's my strategy going to be now that I've decided to sell, is should I sell now? So this is a really relevant question. There's a ton of different things to look at, or maybe not a ton, but there are, probably at least a dozen factors to look at. But let me streamline it for you a little bit. Okay. So if your business is coming off a bad year, and you're on an upswing, but you haven't yet proven that you've come out of the dip and you have the time to wait, don't sell now. On the other hand, if you're having a fantastic year and your pipeline looks good for next year, and there's a favorable environment out there, meaning interest rates are stable or going lower so that the private equity buyers, when they borrow money, won't be looking at a higher cost of borrowing. If the public markets are strong, that probably means the private market multiples are holding up too. If all of those things are in place and you've reduced customer concentrations, you've professionalized your financials, you've got your management team in place that transition after you go, then yeah, go now. Things are good. Don't wait to see if the economy is better or your business is better next year. If you're ready to go, go now. This is a good time to go. Few other things, right? Okay, so this is a good time to go, but let's say that you have a manufacturing business and all of a sudden the tariffs have thrown questions in around how long they're going to last, how much they're going to impact things, how much you and your manufacturer can share in those things, how much gets passed along to the customer. That's a big question mark for any buyer right now, especially for the financial buyers like the private equity firms. Strategic buyers are already dealing with it in their own business and they've made a decision about it. But look, if that's a kind of a cloud over the top of things, you're not going to get top dollar right now. So if you don't have to go now, even though next year could be worse from an economic standpoint and sales could fall off somewhat, with that cloud, unless you're certain that you've got the right buyers and the multiples will hold up, you should probably wait. Then there's a few other things. Look, there's some sectors that are really, really hot. If you've got a professional services business, and here I mean wealth management, accounting, maybe even management consulting, engineering services, any of those kind of businesses, private equity is nuts for those right now, right? So if you've checked all the other boxes in terms of professionalized financials, low customer concentration, management team or partners around to carry on, and you've got a business like that that's performing well, look, there's a ton of buyers out there looking for your company. Go now. On another note, and this has been happening for a little while, kind of the what's called in private equity field services, or what we think of as truck and clipboard businesses. So whether it's landscaping, pool cleaning, fire and water damage restoration, even some areas of construction management or kind of pool and pond maintenance, some of the areas that typically, or at least historically, private equity hasn't been, they're hot for that stuff now. They've been rolling those up for a while. So that might be a little bit later innings, but we're still hearing from private equity firms that they want to know about that kind of stuff. We haven't heard yet a lot of, physician practices or differentiated kind of small healthcare businesses. There's always an appetite for software, ServiceNow kind of MSPs, NetSuite MSPs, electronic data integration, recurring revenue, SaaS model software businesses. Those are always in vogue, and there's plenty of private equity capital around to get those deals done. Property management's hot right now. There's a number of things happening in the pet space that are pretty interesting, and there's starting to be a lot of buyers there. Infrastructure is big. Look, that aligns with some big government projects, and there are a lot of big private equity firms that are buying there. So if you checked all those boxes that I mentioned before, and things are stable and or growing, and you're ready to go from a kind of timing standpoint, and you've checked the box on your why for selling, then it's time to go. Short of that, there's no rush. And what I mean by that is there's a ton of private equity capital raised and continuing to be raised by the biggest of firms or the people that have great track records, even in the smaller firms. And this demographic trend will probably last a decade or more in terms of private equity mustering up at the gates to buy private businesses. And so don't rush if the market's against you, if sentiment's against you, if recent business results are against you. There will be another time to sell your company. I can't tell you when the next recession will happen. And obviously, if we go into one, that's a tough time to sell, but transactions do get done then. But look, if you've got, let's say at least a couple years to wait and maybe as much as 5 years to wait, you haven't wiped out all your energy or your desire to keep building the business, then there's also not a rush to go to market. So stay tuned for more info. That's a critical part of the funnel. So thanks for checking in.